Good evening, everyone. Who's with us? Who's with us tonight? Who's with us tonight? Oh, Dr. Les with us. Oh, Jeff, thank you.
Jeff, wow.
Les.
Well, it seems like Thursday night, Jeff.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Jeff, you're well known, huh? You're well known all over the country. I think that you're well known all over the world.
Not too well known.
Let's give us some news from Dr. Les, please.
Okay, so from Israel, just, unfortunately, the COVID, the numbers are going up, but life continues. You go in the streets and Baruch Hashem, people are they continuing, and we just hope that Rosh Hashana, there won't be a lockdown, and for all of us and for everyone in South Africa as well. But we have had the third vaccine, and all people are having the third vaccine. And, what is interesting, Rav, and I'll tell you this is interesting. What's happening in Afghanistan has got major implications here for Israel, because it's a wake-up call. It's really a wake-up call. We're having the Iran deal, and Israel and the leaders now realize that they can't rely on America. They can only rely on Kodesh Baruch Hu and on ourselves. And guarantees from America are meaningless. So I think it's come at an amazing time. It's not a coincidence. This has happened right before this Iran deal. And it's unbelievable. So I think this is a very big wake-up call, what's happening in Afghanistan for Israel and for the whole world, in a way.
I think that it's a wake-up call.
It's a good idea.
For us. Like we say, אל תפתחו בנדיבים, בבן אדם שאין לו תשועה, we say. אלא בקדוש ברוך הוא. So בעזרת Hashem, that will be a wake-up call to all the Jewish people all over the world, that אין לנו על מי להישען, אלא על אבינו שבשמיים. אלא על אבינו. Okay, רבותיי, I'm gonna mute everyone. And Mark, you're gonna unmute yourself. Mark, don't forget to unmute yourself. So as I mentioned, we're going to speak tonight about the custom of eating those fruit and vegetable, the symbol on Rosh Hashana. But before we start the show, I would like to dedicate the show לעילוי נשמת אסתר קדן בת קציה, מרדכי בן רחמה, הרב אברהם חיים בן אליעזר יעקב, תמר בת זהבה, רחל בת מלכה סולטנה, יעקב סלומון בן פרמה, דבורה רות בת בילה, פליז סתם תהיה צרורה בצורתים. אין לרפואת, it health of ישראל בן זיסה, that's our friend Errol Mendel, please God רפואה שלמה, ליאורה בת מנשה נג'י בן פרחה, אורנה, קומה בת מרים, הרב אברהם בן מרינה, הרב שלמה יהודה בן יהודה, הרב משה בן דבורה, בראל בן ניצה. בראל בן ניצה is the soldier that got injured by the shooting by the border. So we're going to dedicate the show in his health. Mordechai, David ben Leah, Moshe ben Yehudit, Yosef ben Esther, Hannah Sarah bat Dvora, Dvora bat Esther, Shlomo Pinchas ben Sheina, Vechona Tuvia ben Haim Shaul Zelig, Veshushana bat Devora. Please God, refuah shlema to all of them. So as we mentioned, the shiur today will be custom of eating those symbol in Rosh Hashana. As you all know, in both of the night of Rosh Hashana, we have a custom to eat fruit and vegetables that Hazal actually constitute for us to eat. I would like to go first, where's the source for it? And then we'll explain, Be'ezrat Hashem, the meaning. What does it mean, each one of them? I'm going to speak about the symbol from the Gemarot that I'm going to bring soon. Then I'm going to add up. We're going to explain ways come all the extra that not mentioned in the Gemara, because there is extra symbol that there is that we're doing and we're eating on Rosh Hashana that's not mentioned in the Gemarot. Then I'm going to speak about the meaning, okay, the spiritual meaning behind the symbol. And after that, Be'ezrat Hashem, if we have time, I'm going to speak in depth about the apple and the honey and how is it connected to Rosh Hashanah. So Be'ezrat Hashem, na'aseh v'natzliach ve'Hashem alenu berachamav yarviach. So we say that Hazal constitute for us to eat in Rosh Hashanah certain vegetable, certain fruit. Where does it come? The source comes from two different Gemarot in a Bavli. The first Gemara in a Bavli that it's mentioned in Masechet Horayot, page 12, folio 1. And there it says, I'm going to read the Gemara and then I will translate it, okay? It says like this, Yeher ragil inch limihze reshata kara verubia karte silka vetamar. What does it mean? Hazal tell us in a Gemara that a person should get used to see in Rosh Hashanah, to see, remember that. It's very different to what we're going to see just now. That the person should get used to see in the new year, to look at kara, rubia, karte, sarke, vetamre. We'll explain to them what is it now. The second source comes from the Gemara in Masechet Kritut, page 6, folio 1. And there it says, Yeher ragil inch lemeichal reshata kara verubia karte silka vetamre. What does it mean? Now Hazal tell us in a Gemara in Masechet Kritut that a person should get used to eat in Rosh Hashana, in the new year, kara, rubia, karte, salke, vetamre. That means that we see a difference between the two verses of Hazal. The one said to look, the one say to eat. We have to understand what Hazal is saying to us. So Hazal explained that why in one Gemara, there is a kashya there that Hazal asking, you tell me in one Gemara that you must look at the symbol. In one Gemara, you tell me that you should eat the symbol. I'm going to make it quick because that's not the main subject of the show, just not to keep you alert. So Hazal explained that when it said to look, there are certain people that can't eat certain vegetable that mentioned here. These people that very sensitive to them. So therefore they can look at them. When it said to eat, those people that can eat those kind of a vegetable, those kind of a fruit, and they don't have any problem with it. Okay, Hazal tell us that from these two Mishnayot we're learning that, a matter of fact, those symbols that Hazal mentioned to us have a major effect on the Jewish people on Rosh Hashanah. Those symbols that we're looking, or some of us eating, have a major effect on us for the rest of the year. And now I'm going to explain what Hazal call each one of them. So for us, it's easier to understand what does it mean. So kara, Rabotai, is a pumpkin. Kara, in Aramaic, in English, it's called pumpkin. Rubia, it's a beans. Karte, it's leek. Silka, it's spinach. And tamre is date. So from here we see that Hazal tell us in a Gemara that there is 5 symbols that we mainly have to eat in Rosh Hashana. So where's come all the rest? So I'm going to bring first what the Maran Bet Yosef. Rabbi Yosef Karo, that born in the city of Toledo in Spain 533 years ago. He wrote the Shulchan Aruch, the Mehaber, in Siman Taf Kuf Pei Gimel, Saif Aleph, that means in chapters 583, verse 1, he said like this, that is the minhag to eat in Rosh Hashanah a head of a sheep. Okay, and the custom of the Ashkenazim, he said there, to eat the head of a fish. Okay, that's one adding up, that it's not mentioned in a Gemara. The Rama, there adding up, the Rama on Nagaot, Rabbi Moshe Isserlich. Rabbi Moshe Isserlich, born in the city of Krakow in Poland 491 years ago. And he said like this, Sheyesh נוהגים לאכול תפוח בשבש. There is a custom to eat apple dipped in honey. ורימון. רימון is a pomegranate. And also he adding up. וכן בשר שמן. That means a very heavy, what we call it heavy meat. Okay? And כל מיני מתיקה. What it means מיני מתיקה? Sweet thing. So from here we see where is come all the extras that we adding up in a symbol that we don't, the Gemara doesn't mention it. And we have to understand what is the meaning of each one of those symbols. As we know that simplicity, it means there is a simplicity meaning to everything. But Be'ezrat Hashem, I would like to go on a spiritual meaning, okay, and to explain what's hiding behind every symbol. So I would like to start with dates, as Hazal explained to us. I'm going to read it in Hebrew, and then our friend Mark going to read it in English. So after we vas, these different minhagim, some people said before the vas, some people said after the vas. When I say after the vas, after they say amochi, what they do, they say bore pri ha'etz. Even after they say amochi, they eat from the bread, and then they take the dates, they bless bore pri ha'etz, and eat the dates, and then they start saying the request that we say. And we say like this: יהי רצון מלפניך השם אלוקינו ואלוקי אבותינו, שיתמו אויבינו ושונאינו וכל מבקשי רעתנו.
May it be your will.
Mark?
May it be your will, Hashem our God and God of our forefathers, that our enemies be consumed.
We have to understand what it means our enemies be consumed. So I saw in a book that's called Ben Ish Hai. Ben Ish Hai is a book that's been written by Rav Yosef Haim. Rav Yosef Haim is called the Ben Ish Hai. He born in the city of Baghdad. If you remember, we mentioned him a number of times in a Shorim. He born 186 years ago. And in his Parashat Nitzavim, on Parashat Nitzavim, that fall all the time before Rosh Hashana, Parashat Nitzavim forever fall before Rosh Hashana, and the first year, he explained that at the time that the person asked for the request, when he said that request, he have to have in mind the intention that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will annul his enemy here on earth. That means if there is any enemies that we have on earth, we must have in mind those enemies. For example, you're going to ask who's our enemy? Iran, for example, is our big enemy. The Hezbollah in the north. We have the Hamas in the south. And we have many enemies that we have to have in mind, Rabotai, when we say that request. And that's very, very important, Rabotai. We have to understand that when we eating the dates, it's so important that we should make sure that we have that in mind to get rid of those enemies that we have here on earth. The second thing that we're gonna say is the lubia, what Hazal call it rubia, and that's the carrot. And it's like this: Yehi ratzon milfanecha Hashem Elokeinu ve'elokei avotenu shirbu zechuyotenu utelavevenu.
May it be your will, Hashem our God and God of our forefathers, that our merits increase.
Okay, what it means to increase? I saw a beautiful commentary that brought by the Magen Avraham. The Magen Avraham is Rabbi Avraham Avliabi Gumbaya. He born in the city of Gumbin in Poland 384 years ago. And he explained that when a person asks that request, when he asks this kind of a request, you have to have in mind that number one, that he understands what he's saying. And if he can't say it in Hebrew, Rabota, if you can't say it in Hebrew, you can say it in English. And as long, the most important, that you understand the meaning behind what you say. That means that if we want to make sure that, how's it say here?
Where
where
merits
is it?
increase.
The carrot, that our
Right,
merit
okay.
will be increased. He doesn't have to say it only in Hebrew, he can say it in English. The most important is that he understands that the merits, that every mitzvah, every good deeds that we do will help us to increase. Why? That HaKadosh Baruch Hu will write us in Rosh Hashana and seal us for a good life. The third one that we're going to say is the karti. Karti, it's what we call leeks or cabbage. Am I right? Yes, leek or cabbage. And the custom is to say again, יהי רצון מלפניך השם אלוקינו ולא יעבותנו, שיקרתו אויבינו ושונאינו וכל מבקשי רעתנו.
May it be your will, Hashem, our God and God of our forefathers, that our enemies be decimated.
Okay, so we already mentioned about our enemies. Why suddenly it's repeat again? Our enemy will be decimated. So I saw a beautiful commentary that bring the Ben Ish Hai that we should, when we say that kind of request, we should have in mind the intention, Rabotai, that not only that the enemies that we think here on earth, these are different enemies. Number one, the enemy that we create up in heaven. Which are they? Those the sins that we do here on earth, we creating bad angel. Every avera that the person do, every sin that the person do, he creates a sin. And Hazal come and tell us, that's what you have to have in mind, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will decimate those bad angel that we created. Not only that, it's also for the male, because we, the male, have a problem, and to help us with another kind of avera, and it's what we call wasting our sperm. So there is two averot that we have to be mekaven. The number one, sorry, any question? No. So we have to have in mind that the first avera that we have to do, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will get rid of all of those evil angel that we created by doing averot. And that's the most important, Rabotai. How much we have to be mekaven. Okay. And that's why he repeat again. That means that these enemies that we have here on the ground, on earth, and there is enemy that we have up in heaven. Those enemy that we have up in heaven, who they are? Those are the enemies that we created. Okay, let's continue. And the fourth one is what we call beets. That's called silka. Silka, Rabota, it's spinach. If some of us don't know what is it exactly, it's a spinach. Karti is a leeks, as we mentioned. And the custom is to say, יהי רצון לפניך השם אלוקינו ולא יעבותנו, שיסתלקו אויבינו ושונאינו וכל מבקשי רעתנו.
May it be your will, Hashem, our God and God of our forefathers, that our adversaries be removed.
Will be removed. What it means will be removed? That when we sing that brocha, Rabotai, first of all, I have to mention that the custom is not to eat the spinach. Custom not to eat the spinach is just to look at it. And that's what we explained earlier, that one time the Gemara say to look, and one time the Gemara say to taste, to eat it. Okay, so when it's come to the spinach that it's silka, we should not eat, just look at it. What is it? Here we asking HaKadosh Baruch Hu that the request is that we asking HaKadosh Baruch Hu to get rid of those up in heaven that's sitting and criticizing against us and against the Jewish people. That means that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will deal with all the evil forces that there is up in heaven. And you're going to ask me what evil forces? The evil forces is that every country have an angel in heaven. And every time that the Jewish people sinning, those angels in heaven actually get extra energy. And we're asking HaKadosh Baruch Hu to remove them, that they cannot criticize on us on such a holy day. So when we do that brocha, when we ask that request, we have to have that in mind. The fifth one that we're going to do, it's called kara. Kara is a pumpkin, or what we call it, Groot. And it says like this, יהי רצון לפניך אדוני אלוהינו ולאהבתנו, שתקרא רוע גזר דיננו ויקראו לפניך זכויותינו.
May it be your will, Hashem, our God and God of our forefathers, that the decree of our sentence be torn asunder, and may our merits be proclaimed before you.
Okay, will be torn. What it means will be torn? The mystical rabbi explained, if you take the word torn, torn is kuf resh ayin. Kuf resh ayin, it's also in Hebrew, it's to tear. In English, you call it to tear. What does it mean? It's a holy name, okay, that with that name, I don't mention him, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will tear the entire bad decree that there is on the Jewish people. So why we say Kra Roa Gzar Dinenu? Because the word Kuf Resh Ayin come to tell you it's a name that can help on Rosh Hashana to tear all our bad decrees that there is against the Jewish people. And that's what we say. So when we say that kind of a request, we have to be mekaven, we have to have in mind the idea of Kuf Resh Ayin, that's the name of a special angel that can help to tear all the bad decrees that there is been written on the Jewish people, also on everyone individual. Then we have another custom to eat a pomegranate. Why dafka pomegranate from all the other fruit that there is beside the apple? Why dafka pomegranate? We're going to bring two different ideas. The first idea that there is that we're going to bring is from the Gemara. But before that, we're going to say what it says. יהי רצון מלפניך השם אלוקינו ואלוקי אבותינו, שנהיה מלאים מצוות כרימון.
May it be your will, Hashem, our God and God of our forefathers, that our merits increase as the seeds of a pomegranate.
Okay. Why dafka a seed of a pomegranate? We have to explain, and Be'ezrat Hashem will do it now. So Hazal tell us in the Gemara in Masechet Hagiga in page 27, folio 1, אפילו ריקנים שבישראל מלאים מצוות כרימון. What does it mean? Even those that far away from Yiddishkeit, even those that really doesn't keep the mitzvot, but they still have a lot of mitzvot, that they full of mitzvot, okay, like the pomegranate. Why? Because there's certain mitzvot, and there's many observant Jews, or many Jews that not so observant, but they still keep the tradition. For example, when a baby born on the 8th day is healthy, they do Brit Milah. Then they get married, Kedat Moshe v'Yisrael, they do Bar Mitzvah, and etc. There is many mitzvot that the Jewish people do. For example, a person that doesn't steal, he fulfill a positive command from the Torah, you should not steal. He respects his parents, although that he's not religious. He's still making mitzvot without even knowing that he's doing mitzvot. Maybe he doesn't go to shul, but he's a decent human being and he's doing a lot of mitzvot. So that's why Hazal tell us that to eat pomegranate, it's a custom to eat the pips of the pomegranate on Rosh Hashana. Now, we have to understand why dafka pomegranate. So the Hatam Sofer is Rabbi Moshe Sofer. He born in the city of Frankfurt in Germany 258 years ago. And there is a book that's called the Rashot Hatam Sofer. What does it mean? All the lectures that the Hatam Sofer brought. In volume 2, in page 249, listen what he said. And many people intend to make a mistake, and now I'm going to make sure that I'm saying exactly word by word. And he said, average, remember the word average pomegranate, not too big, not too small. Average pomegranate, there is inside the pomegranate 613 pips, equivalent to the 600 mitzvot that we have from the Torah that Chazal tell us, Taryag mitzvot. That means that the main reason that we eating pomegranate on Rosh Hashana is to show HaKadosh Baruch Hu that number one, we have a lot of mitzvot. We're full of mitzvot like karimon. Why dafka karimon? Because to remind HaKadosh Baruch Hu that that's equivalent to the 613 mitzvot, the Taryag mitzvot that we have as a Jew. So that's why dafka we're eating pomegranate on Rosh Hashana. I would like to move now to the second part. The second heading that we have is to eat, as Chazal tell us, and that's brought by the Shulchan Aruch, to eat the head of a sheep. So the Chazal tell us like this, יהי רצון מלפניך השם אלוקינו ואלוקי אבותינו, שנהיה לראש ולא לזנב.
May it be your will, Hashem our God and God of our forefathers, that we be as the head and not as the tail. And may it be your will that the merit of our patriarch Isaac be remembered for us.
Okay, so here we ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu that for the new year, please make us a head and not a tail. What does it mean? That we're asking HaKadosh Baruch Hu dafka when we have a head of a sheep. Why dafka head of a sheep? Because Yitzhak Avinu was the one that was being taken to be sacrificed and to be offered as all in the front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu as an offering on the altar. So we want HaKadosh Baruch Hu to remember the merit of Yitzhak Avinu dafka, that was willing to sacrifice himself in honor of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, al Kiddush Hashem, and that will stand merit for us to be written on a book of life. That's why we dafka eating the head of a sheep. We say that the Rama, Rabbi Moshe Iserlish, he had up to eat the head of a fish. Why dafka fish? Because that we ask here HaKadosh Baruch Hu to be multiplied. That those people that battling is certain woman that they're married for quite a while and battling to fall pregnant. And that when we're eating the head of the fish, we're asking HaKadosh Baruch Hu to remember the fish. Why dafka the fish? Because the fish get multiplied and the evil eye cannot control over it. So Hazal say that when we eat the head of a fish dafka, that we have to remember that shenifre v'nirbe kadagim, that means that we should multiply like a fish. And that's why we have the head of the fish that we're eating. Obviously, after that, there is the carrot that we mentioned, is all different. But now I'm going to move to the main subject, and that's eating apple dipped in honey. Why dafka apple dipped in honey? Why it's so special that we're eating apple dipped in honey? So when we eat the apple dipped in honey, it's a custom to say, שתחדש עלינו שנה טובה ומתוקה. Mark, that's in page 96.
May it be your will, Hashem our God and God of the God of our forefathers, that you renew for us a good and sweet year.
Okay, a good and sweet year. We have to understand that in this symbol, we actually have two parts. One part is the apple, and the second part is the honey. And we have to understand what's the connection. First of all, why did the Rama tell us that it's a custom to eat apple? Where does it come from? Why dafka apple? So I'm going to bring two ideas. Again, that I'm going to bring the Ben Ish Hai, and the Ben Ish Hai bring in three different ideas, and he explained it. we're going to start Pshat, and we try to do Remes, Drash, and so on. So Ben Ish Chai said that it's said in the Zohar HaKadosh, in Parashat Hayeh Sarah, in page 122, folio 1. The Zohar say, Zecher lehakal tapuchim kadishim. What it means, hakal tapuchim kadishim, I will translate it. Hakal, it's a field. Tapuchim is apple. Kadishim is holy. That means it's come to tell us that it's a word, the Holy Spirit of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shechina Kedusha. But the Ben Ish Chai explained that if you look at the apple, there is three different things about the apple. Number one, it have a taste, a nice taste, nice looking fruit, and a nice smell. It's come to remind the Kadosh Baruch Hu that when we're taking the apple, that we need three things in life. And what they are? We say look, smell, and taste. Said the Ben Ish Chai, it's awards the three things that every human being needed in his life. And what they are? Bnei, Hayeh, Umzoneh. What it means, Bnei, that a person needs children. Number two, Hayeh is life, good life. And Mezoneh is a good parnasa. That means that we're coming and saying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, by that we're eating the apple, remember those holy field of apple. That it remind who? The Almighty. In a new merit of the Holy Spirit, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, please have a decree on us that the new years, for those that don't have kids, they will have kids. Those that they sick, they will have a good life. Those that born, they can live. Us to be right and to be sealed for a good year. And then we're asking HaKadosh Baruch Hu to give us parnasa, mezoneh. What it means, mezoneh? That we should have a good parnasa, a good livelihood. Another idea that hiding behind it, that Hazal explained, that the apple actually mematek et hadinim ve'agvurot. What it means? That in the power of the apple, that we say that that's referring to the Almighty, we're actually asking HaKadosh Baruch Hu that to use his character trait of mercy and compassion. That means we explain the Hakal Tapuchim Kadishim, that that's the divine of the Almighty, the Holy Divine, that we're asking HaKadosh Baruch Hu with that kind of holiness, please provide us with life, children, and parnasa. Not only that, make sure that our decree that you have on us will be with mercy and compassion. Use with us the character trait of mercy and compassion. That's the apple. Now the honey, what is the honey? By the way, I just want to tell you different minhagim. The Sfaradim, the minhag of the Sfaradim is to dip the apple with sugar and also with honey. But why do we use dafka honey? So the Bnei Yisachar is Rabbi Tzvi Elimelech Shapira. He born in the city of Ubernik in Galicia. He born 238 years ago. And in his book, Bnei Yisachar, he explained that if you take the word honey, honey in Hebrew is dvash. The gematria of the word dvash, 306. He say that it's come to tell us that we're using the sweet, why dafka sweet, that we're asking HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that he's the Father of mercy, okay, to use his divine and the character trait of mercy and compassion on us. And that's why we eat apple dipped in honey, dafka in Rosh Hashana. I would like to go now to a bit deeper. Why dafka apple? So Rabbi Tzadok HaKohen Miluvlin, he born in the city of Lublin in Poland. He born 198 years ago. And he explained like this. You have to understand that there's something very special about the tree of apple. The tree of apple, number one, the fruit grow up before the leaves. And he say that it's come to tell you that when we're eating the apple, we're reminding HaKadosh Baruch Hu that the Jewish people, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave the Torah to the Jewish people didn't ask what's written there. The Jewish people say, Na'aseh v'nishma, first we'll do, and then we'll listen to the laws. It's come to tell you HaKadosh Baruch Hu, by that we're eating the apple, we're reminding HaKadosh Baruch Hu to use the character trait of mercy and compassion on us, and the merit that we accept the Torah first, and then we ask, Nishma, then you'll tell us what's written there. Another idea that it's come to tell us that there is something also special about the apple. What's so special about the apple? That the apple had more fruit. The fruit on a tree of apple, there's more fruit than leaves. What is the connection? Hazal say, we coming to remind the Kadosh Baruch Hu, please remember that we have more mitzvot than sin. We'll get to it just now, mitzvot and sin. I'm going to connect it all. So now we understand why dafka apple. Why do we eat honey on a deeper meaning? So the Gemara in Masechet Bechorot tell us a very important concept in page 5, folio 2. Hazal tell us like this. Tell us a very important principle. And they say like this. Kol hayotze min hatameh tameh. Whatever come from something that it's not kosher, that we can't eat from it, we can't eat from it. And Hazal immediately ask, how can we eat honey that come from a bee? A bee is an insect, and an insect is not kosher. So the Rambam, the great eagle, Rabbi Moshe ben Maimon, he born in the city of Cordova in Spain. He born 886 years ago. 887 years ago, sorry. In the law of Ma'achalot Asurot, it's forbidden food. He explained in chapter 3, law number 1. He said like this. He explaining what is a bee. How can we eat the honey from the bee? So he explained that the bee, is a matter of fact, is kind of an insect, that it's not kosher. But the bee have a special sac, not inside the stomach, on the side of her neck. That when she fly from one pollen to another pollen, she take those pollen and she put that pollen inside that sac and it starts boiling and cooking. And then when she get to the hive, she put the honey. Just for general knowledge, a bee in the entire life can make the amount of a teaspoon of honey, that's all. That's mean a bee in the time of living, she can make maximum a teaspoon of honey, not more. So he say, the Rambam explained, because it doesn't get to a stomach, it didn't come out of it. That means it didn't come out from a stomach. It came from a separate sac by the side of the neck of the bee. Therefore, we can eat from it. Okay, what does it mean? That means that the honey didn't penetrate to her stomach. If it didn't penetrate to her stomach, said the Rambam, you can eat from it. Said the Rabbi Tzadok Milovlin, that the matter of fact, you know why we're eating dafka honey? Because we want a sweet year. But why dafka sweet year? He said that we're coming and saying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in the merit of the honey, that the Torah is like a honey, because the Torah is sweet like the honey, okay? And we should eat the apple that Bnei Israel actually, that we compare it, okay? Because it's special, the same like Bnei Israel said to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Na'aseh v'nishma, we dipping it dafka in the honey. Again, to ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu to have his character trait of mercy and compassion. But I'm going to go now in a different, completely different aspect to explain apple and honey. Hazal in the Gemara in Masechet Kritut, page 6, folio 2, say like this. כל תענית שאין בה מפושעי ישראל אינה תענית. What does it mean? Every fast that the Jewish people fasting, if there is no people that sin, it doesn't consider a fast. That means HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't get benefit. When is he enjoined? When he see that people that don't sin doing tshuva, doing repentance. And he explained like this. We explain that the honey become from the bee. So Hazal explained like this. The mystical rabbi explained like this. That the symbol of the honey come to tell us very important thing. That the bee actually represent the averot that the Jewish people do. Because the bee is unkosher, the averot is not good. That means unkosher. It's come to tell you that HaKadosh Baruch Hu asked the Jewish people, when we eating the apple dipped in honey, we're saying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, look, the averot, it's not our personality. Our personality as a Jewish people, we have a good neshama. We have a pure neshama, holy neshama. That sometimes we sin, it's because the influence that we are having in our life. For example, there's certain countries, there's certain places that the person lives. There is certain people that he live with, and they influence him. So the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, is come over him, managed to go over him. So say Hazal like this. Hazal come and tell us that by that we eat an apple dipped in honey, we saying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, listen, our character trait is not like a bee, is like a honey. Nachon that sometimes we're sinning during the year, and everyone is a human being, and the evil inclinations sometimes seduce us and make us sin, unfortunately. What can we do? But here in Rosh Hashana, we come in to ask for forgiveness. And we're eating apple dipped in honey. Why dafka apple? We explained that the apple is come to show the divine of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What divine? The mercy and compassion. That means that we're asking HaKadosh Baruch Hu with his character trait of divine, of mercy and compassion, because we send our seven, the same like the apple grow before the leaves, and we, in our roots, in our nature, in our personality, we are pure. That sometimes we sin, but it's not our character trait. It's not our personality. It's only come because we get influence from the Yetzer Hara that entice us, people, the place that we live, and etc. So that's why we eat in dafka apple dipped in honey, to ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the merit that we send our seven Ishma, and the merit of the honey, that's our real personality as a Jew. We're asking you to have compassion and mercy on us. So that's why we eat dafka apple dipped in honey. We have another few minutes, and I would like to do with you another few things. The Ben Ish Hai, Rabbi Yosef Haim, by the way, his yortzeit was a few days ago in Rosh Chodesh Elul. He sent Parashat Nitzavim in his book. Ben Ish Hai is a book of halacha, but he brings a lot of mystical things. And one of the things he say that in Rosh Hashana, Rabotai, listen to that, in halacha law number 5, he said that it's not good that the person in Rosh Hashana will eat things that ma'achalim hamutzim, sour food, or pickled food, for example, or pickled fruit, or there is fruit that they are still sour, or not necessarily sour. They maybe are good, but they are sour yet. You're not allowed to eat them. He said that the main reason that we're eating sweet thing, and the Hazal say that we should eat sweet thing, as the Rama bring. And now I'm going to go back to what the Rama say, that we should eat a lot of sweet thing. Where does it come? So the prophet Nehemiah, in chapter 8, verse 10, say, Ichlu mashmanim, ushtu mamtakim. Said the Ben Ish Hai that the prophet Nehemiah speaking about Rosh Hashana, that in Rosh Hashana we should eat sweet thing. Why? That we're asking HaKadosh Baruch Hu to write us and to seal us, not only for life, for sweet, good life, that our life gonna be sweet. And it's not just to have life, because many people have life, but they're suffering. They're lying in bed, they're lying in a hospital, they're not feeling well. Other people have plenty sorrows. Say the Ben Ish Hai, you know why we should not eat anything that's sour, anything that pickled that can make sour or spicy stuff? That here the prophet tells us specifically that on Rosh Hashana we should eat sweet. Why dafka sweet? That we're asking HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the merit that we're eating sweet in Rosh Hashana, that's the day of judgment. He will judge us all year around, that we will have not only life, a sweet life. We're asking HaKadosh Baruch Hu that we should have a sweet life. One other thing is the angriness. Hazal and many of the mystical rabbi warn us not to get cross and angry on Rosh Hashanah. And Hazal explained that if a person gets cross, upset, or angry on Rosh Hashanah, it's not a good sign for all year around. And Hazal tell us, Bechlal, all year around, a person should not get cross, should not get upset, and should not get really, because it's bring the arrogancy of him. And Hazal tell us, in a Gemara in Masechet Shabbat, in page 105, folio 2, Kol ha'ko'es kilo oved avodah zara. A person that get cross, get angry, okay, is considered like worshiping idol. So we learn from here that one of the most important thing on Rosh Hashanah, beside that we go and daven, atonement, listen to the shofar like we explained, on the night of Rosh Hashanah, the 2 nights of Rosh Hashanah, when we eat those symbols that we mentioned, there is a spiritual meaning behind it that we have to have in mind, number one. Number two, not to get cross and upset about little things. And more important, when we eat the apple dipped in honey, is to wake up the hakal tapuhim. That means the field of apple. What it means, the field of apple? We're waking up the divine mercy and compassion of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's what we're trying to do in Rosh Hashanah. That if we want to be written and we want to be sealed in a book of good life, in a book of healthy life, we have to do all of that. And not for nothing Hazal tell us. Because not only here on earth we have enemy. We're creating enemy up in heaven. And we trying to get rid of those enemies here on earth and up in heaven. How do we do that? By eating those symbols Hazal explained to us in a Gemara. And what we have to have in mind, we can change the decree on us. Be'ezrat Hashem, next week, I'm going to speak about the idea of the tashlich. Tashlich is what we do first day of Rosh Hashanah. Although if it's fall on Shabbat, the Ashkenazim, the custom not to do tashlich on Rosh Hashanah, if the first day of Rosh Hashanah fall on Shabbat. The Sfaradim do also on Shabbat tashlich. We'll explain what is a tashlich, where is the source for tashlich, where is it come, why dafka water, and etc. Be'ezrat Hashem, we'll do it next week. If there is any question regarding what we spoke tonight on a symbol, I will try and answer the question. Be'ezrat Hashem. If anyone have any question, please unmute yourself.
Hello, it's Anthony. How are you?
Shalom Aleichem, Antonio.
It says when you greet someone, you say Shana Tova Mituka, not just Shana Tova. You have to say Mituka as well. Is that right?
Nachon. Why dafka metuka?
Because it mustn't only be a good, might not be happy, might be a year of suffering if you just say a good year. It must also be a sweet year as well, that it's not only suffering, it's a good year and a happy year.
Shirkor. Anthony, Shirkor. Well done.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Any other
Rov,
questions? Yes, asking? Asking?
Rov,
Anyone question?
yes,
No.
Rov.
Yes, who's that?
It's Sean
Shalom Aleichem, Sean, how are you?
Malechem. Good, thank you, and you, Rov.
Baruch Hashem. Yes, Sean.
Do you have to do on both nights? The symbols on both nights?
Yes. The
Okay.
symbol, definitely we have to do on both nights. Just one other thing. On both nights we say Shehiyanu. Remember, both nights we say Shehiyanu. Shehiyanu v'kiyimanu v'giyanu. You must remember, on both nights. Okay? Hello, Sean? Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, I can hear you, Rov. Thank you.
Don't forget Shehiyanu on both nights. Any other question? Monty, Shalom Aleichem. Thank you for joining us. I can't hear you. You are mute. Monty, you are mute. You must unmute yourself. I can't hear you.
The big Mund.
Monty, you are mute.
Okay. Thank you, Rabbi. Shalom Aleichem to you too. It was a very nice year. Thank you very much indeed. Sorry, I was a bit late.
Thank you for joining us. Any other question,
Yes.
Mark? Any question?
Now you put it across brilliantly, love. I cannot question it.
I hope so. Thank you very much. Can you believe
Thanks,
it?
Rav.
From Eretz Israel giving us a shiur in South Africa. Shtabach Shemo La'am. Thanks to
Okay.
Monty.
Okay, but I would like all of you
Rav.
a beautiful week, a safe week, Be'ezrat Hashem. Thank you all for joining us. And
Thank you,
Be'ezrat
Rav.
Hashem, on Thursday night on Parashat HaShavua, Be'ezrat Hashem. All the best.
All the best,
Thank
Rav.
you, Rolf.
Shukran, Rav.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Shukran,
Good night.
thank you.
Thank you.
Monty.
Bye.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye.
Laila Tov.
Bye,
Laila Tov.
Jeff. Laila Tov.